Hey there, American Horror Story fans. We're talking Season 6, Roanoke, Chapter 6. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hey there, American Horror Story fans. Welcome to the after show for American Horror Story Season 6, Chapter 6, My Roanoke Nightmare. I am your host, Alana Jordan, and today I am joined by my full panel.
Hey guys, I'm Kelly McInerney. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at HollyWeirdo.
Hey guys, I'm Michelle Madison. You can find me on Instagram at Michelle_MadisonTV.
What is up, everyone? You guys can find me on social media at Zach Kelch.
All right, so let's dive right into this episode. A whole lot went down this week.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've had, the twist has been,
Twisted.
It's been twisted. Not Mr. Twisty, but still twisted. We've had this hint that things were going to go awry this episode. Everything was going to change. But man, did they have a whole bunch of stuff.
Just a completely different type of show now.
It definitely
Well, that's
went
what they said.
Yeah.
very
They were
different
right.
from how we anticipated as well. So before we dive into what actually went down, what do you guys, any initial thoughts? How you feeling on this episode overall?
I think we kind of predicted the gist of what we expected to happen. We figured we'd take a little behind the scenes progression moment, but didn't fully entail it moving forward the way it is. So, this episode, it's hard. I don't want to sit here and judge this episode too toughly, because the reality is it's just it'd be as if it were the pilot again. So, we have an entire season of sorts still to see how it plays out. So I'm gonna stay nice and objective right now, because it wasn't my favorite episode, but that's okay.
Zach and I differ on this one. I think we're a split panel tonight, but I actually was seeing the Halloween Resurrection direction this was going to go into, so I'm happy. Actually, I love the satire of it all. I'm enjoying it. We'll just say that.
You're into it?
This is my second
too.
favorite episode since the second episode.
I like the way, I like how they still incorporated everybody. It was kind of hard to remember everybody's names.
Yeah.
I liked it, but I thought there were some really cheesy things, and it's like, all right, calm down, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah.
I do kind of feel like this was almost a little nod, Ryan Murphy's nod to, hey, I also do Scream Queens. Don't forget. We also have a little bit of kitsch thrown in. Whereas up to this point, everything's been very serious, and we've had it's felt like American Horror Story, but just a readaptation of it. Whereas this episode, it felt almost like a different show, not even like a different show for this season, but a different show overall.
Right.
overall.
And I think what that is, it's kind of the joke of that this is like a real world version of American Horror Story, whatever it might be, which, with Cheyenne's character of the really over enthusiastic and aggressive producer, and this episode was just a lot of a cheese moment for me, and so which kind of for me can sometimes cut the horror in a negative way. But that's why
I'd rather have them cut the horror than cut the cheese.
Waka waka waka.
See, that's part of why I love this episode, is because I'm all about the cheesy.
Hey! Thanks, sound guy.
So we find out, beginning this episode, kicking it off, that up until this point, My Roanoke Nightmare was a 2015 hit that has just completely broken tons of records. 23 million viewers, beat out The Walking Dead.
And Empire.
Good.
I love that.
Good for that.
I
love
do
it.
like that Ryan Murphy's
Yeah.
don't forget, I'm super relevant. I know all these pop culture references. I have had so many references to all of our old school horror movies. But this is still a Ryan Murphy production. We're going to keep this very, very,
Right.
the Universal Studios references to last season. This is their version, was Empire and Walking Dead. So, Sydney, we finally get Cheyenne Jackson. He's playing Sydney, the deplorable reality TV producer.
But hot.
He is, and Cheyenne's hot. Anybody Cheyenne plays is hot.
If you're going to be an asshole, at least be cute.
That's at least,
Just saying.
That is not a good thing to tell people.
I'm just saying.
Don't give hot people the excuse to be mean.
I'm just saying. There has to be a benefit. Okay, continue, Elena.
Basically, what we're saying is Cheyenne can play any character, and we will love that character because we will love anybody that he plays. Which, same for Evan Peters, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
I know.
So he's playing Sydney, who is basically wanting to recreate this lightning in a bottle situation, and he wants to return to Roanoke 3 days in hell, get the original cast and the actors who recreated it, which we also get answers to where they filmed it. They actually filmed it in the house, the reenactment. But we find out that it's during the summer when there's no blood moon and all the production crew and all of the everything else. So he has bought this house from Matt and Shelby for half the price.
Which I still felt like he overpaid because they were going to give it away for free, right? At one point. I'm just saying.
I don't know. It's still kind of messed up. It's a little shady.
This is ultimately like
Business
where the kink of this turn goes for me, though, because it's just I mean, unless you're giving these people, I mean, you would assume if this story is real, which the real Matt, Shelby, and Lee are really attesting to these things that happened, because now they're laughing at the actors, saying like nothing is scary about this place. No amount of money would bring these people back to this house.
That's how I feel too.
Which I understand how they were able to, for the sake of the American Horror Story show, shape it and have, we find out that Shelby and Matt have separated because she's had an affair with Dominic, who played Matt, which is also just a whole
weird
thing
She said
upon
she
itself.
No, it was a cheap
Imitation of her husband, but it's like, okay. Yeah. All right, whatever. So we find out that is her impetus to go back to the house.
That shows how desperate she is.
But why would Matt come back? Matt has nothing to gain.
Yeah, they didn't show us how Sydney got Matt to come back, which I was surprised about.
And then the only other thing that we can assume is, and then Lee wants to come back to clear her name as being a murderer.
But also her daughter disappeared there and almost died, and her ex-husband or whatever
there
died.
should be plenty to be like, no, and they can probably ride the PR train long enough to still make good money after this. We also find out that Lee is doing pretty well. She's made 7 figures on a book deal.
So
like
they need it.
And if this is a huge thing, and we're assuming, I mean, he's thinking that they are going to be making, he signs a 13 episode deal at just for advertising, $12 million a show. So obviously they're all going to be paid very well.
Right.
So we're assuming that probably factors in as well. But if this is supposed to be an accurate representation of what's really luring these people in, how come those contract negotiations are never brought up?
Right.
Short time. This is TV.
Yeah.
And then I think it's also a play on how we see fame now. People are fame whores. So they'll
risk your life for more money.
And then we also see kind of the behind the scenes of him saying, he does not believe that the ghosts are real, but they're going to rig all of these different things and make them believe that they are in danger, basically for good TV.
To get Lee to confess.
Yeah. And that's what he says, but it's really, I think, just selfish reasons. Because, as he says, reality is what we make of it, which is...
I agree.
Yeah. But that's also, I think, kind of coming from somebody who's making a scripted television show and seeing all these reality TV shows coming off. I think that was kind of Ryan Murphy and the writer's room as a subtle dig. Like, we all know these reality shows aren't really real. Like, come on.
They're the new scripted.
But we do get the conflict between Sydney and, I already don't know her name because she's gone already. The female producer. Diana really standing her ground, being like, this is too much, you're really faking this. And his moral reasoning for the show, is to attempt to be the man who got Lee to confess. So he's trying to not only make $1 bajillion from a reality show, but also be like the savior of this murder case that was never solved.
I think that is also kind of just to appease Diane, though.
Right. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, because she is, which we do see Diane, who is all of us, I think the audience at home.
Right.
And this, I think, is also kind of them being like, okay, everybody, we hear you saying, well, why don't you just leave? Why don't you just get out of here?
During the daytime.
So during the daytime, she goes, she sees them, they rig all this stuff, they rig the explosives, they have all the things. And poor reference to Cricket.
Oh, he did a great impersonation, though.
Yeah, that was a really good
Yeah.
impersonation of Cricket, but also really sad that, you know.
Yeah.
So they're saying they're going to hide the production trailers in the woods. They want it to be very secluded. But then they find these fetal pigs arranged that nobody on the production crew has done. And they assume that it is Agnes, Mary Wigstead, who we find out is the actress who played the butcher, who has gone way off the deep end.
So she apparently, I hate that I was gonna make this reference, but she went a little like Heath Ledger, and apparently went too into character, as we're supposed to assume.
Yeah.
And so she went full blown crazy and kind of now a split personality where she thinks she is the butcher. In fact,
Yeah.
I think she may be the butcher.
You think she's possessed?
Prediction.
I think that that
that's-
might just be a ploy
yeah.
for us to maybe wonder, is she actually possessed? But I don't know.
Yeah,
It was
I
just
think-
difficult for all, because even the girl, the Monet that played Lee, was like, "You made me an alcoholic." So I guess
Which-
these are
Yeah.
just fucked up people
Which
to play.
I'm sorry, I'm
No.
sorry. This is playing a little bit too much into the actor. Like, is so a character actor that they have to do all this ridiculous
I
stuff.
almost wonder
and
how
be-
much of this is him also being kind of topical, like with the whole Jared Leto playing the Joker and like all of that thing with the method acting and
it's-
people really shining the light on method acting.
Yeah, it seems to be
And
a
how
little.
far is too far?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not
So-
an actor, so I don't know what goes into that, but
I
mean,
mean,
This is
is that-
this is aggressive
I'll say
to
as-
like
Yeah, you tell
to
us.
months removed be I don't know to have the argument with the real life person be like, you made me
Yeah.
this way. No,
that's a bit excessive. I feel there's a lot that, I mean, this is obviously supposed to be way blown out of proportion.
I think
the sake of
it's
entertainment.
just a quick it's a quick utilization of the show to draw a line between the actors and the real life people.
Yeah.
So clearly it's like, if we're talking Big Brother, there are alliances being made right now in the
Yeah.
house. Like,
Now, I have to say, too, though, I love that every single way that they've done, because this is a very exposition-heavy episode, and they did a great way of breaking up the exposition and having all of it be in an interesting way. Like, we see the sit-down interviews, like the talking heads with, first with Shelby and with
Agnes.
Sydney, and then with Agnes and Sydney, and then we go and move into the other ones. We see Lee as an Entertainment interview.
Yeah.
We see the confessional style.
Right.
So we get all of this exposition, but it's all in a way that is interesting, and none of it ever feels stagnant or repetitive.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that I do have to say, for basically creating a radio drama that you have to see visually, the writers kind of knocked it out of the park with this one.
no, I mean, we even turned to each other. It was literally 29 minutes into the show, and you're like, at the commercial break, you were like, was that it? And I was like, no, it's not even
Yeah.
half the episode.
Yeah.
Like, truly. There's
Every
a
time
lot
there
of
was a
stuff.
commercial break, I was like, whoa, that's such a good end to the episode. There's more. There's
Yeah.
more to that.
Yeah.
This is, wow. 3 pages into what we're... I'm like,
Right. Well, we
so
I
much
mean, so
happens.
there's like a core of like 7 or 8 people now that we're trying to play catch up with. So like they really tried to like bingo
Yeah.
bango through all
Yeah.
of
But
them.
I do kind of like that, because kind of the issue that I was worried would happen with them switching into a new storyline per se was that they would have too many character introductions at once,
Right.
because we've seen that in past seasons too, where they just had too many storylines all at one time and it just got too flustered. I feel like even with the turn that this one has taken, they're still very much sticking to one storyline, making everything make
Right.
sense, having
Yeah.
each loose end is tied up and every callback comes full circle without waiting. Question. Here's a dump of answers. Hope we didn't forget anything. It's over. So
right.
that I'm digging this season for that reason specifically,
That's
and
true.
this episode for that reason. But again, they do get a little heavy-handed with it. We find out that Agnes has some issues. Well,
So she was running
got a
on
lot of
she was
issues, but-
running on Hollywood Boulevard with a cleaver trying to murder
Yeah.
people.
yeah, and
like
gets arrested.
Tracy Jordan.
Gets,
never mind.
yeah.
Old Tracy
Or
Jordan.
Eddie Murphy, I think.
I am a stabbing robot. So, yeah, what up, Brian Murphy? We got our own pop culture reference.
Yeah.
So she gets charged with assault with a deadly weapon, gets sent to Holly Hill, which I'm wondering, is this going to be a reference to Asylum? Like, I'm thinking maybe the tie-in, because they keep having
I hope
this.
not. I mean, I
have
think
some sort of
at this
tie-in.
point we've seen enough and can figure out where some of these characters are coming or going that I think that we need to stay
With the story.
Well, I think, I don't think it's going to be a whole separate
No,
like,
I know.
byline,
Yeah.
but I think it's going to be some sort of just, you know,
I don't think
little
so.
throw-in reference,
Like, it
maybe.
could, but I think now that we've already seen her, so she's now has a restraining order against her and she's not allowed to be a part of the production because
She got served.
because everyone assumes that she
So
did the
messed
little
up. The fetal
pig
pigs.
babies, but she. I mean,
did
we don't
not.
know, but she didn't. But then, immediately upon finding out that she's not going to the show, she snaps and goes into full character, whatever you want to call it, of the
She
butcher.
goes full butcher. She starts yelling, thou dare cast me out of paradise? I shall smite thee. And it's like, really?
Oh, that creepy
Chill.
house is paradise?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's her
Wow.
land.
That wasn't a
Yeah.
very good one.
And she has a whole.
She's got it, like-
she has her own minions. That is paradise.
for her.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Which-
guess so.
Yeah.
I at least need like
I mean,
a
when you're
margarita
crazy
bar
town
or
banana
something.
pants, when you're nutso, I guess that's paradise. That's the butcher's paradise. So if she thinks,
paradise.
Oh.
You know.
hey, I like it.
Yeah.
Anywho.
We're gonna go karaoke.
So then we see Lee do her interview, which is an E-News interview. She's got to sit down. She finds out. That's when we find out about her book deal and everything. But we also find out that everybody thinks that she is a killer. And
Because of quote unquote the way what is
Monet.
that Monet
the way Monet
portrayed
portrays her,
Mm-hmm.
which we already have the direct animosity, like which at some point I want to be like, okay, I get a lot of the feedback was that things were a little too confusing. It doesn't have to be so hit us over the head with it though. Like we get it. Monet and Lee don't like each other. We don't have to see the direct. I blame you for my alcoholism. I blame you for people thinking I'm a murderer.
You know, I think though it's as much as yes, I didn't really appreciate it. It's going to be necessary for this alleged like 3-part season that we're watching right now. For this
Because so
essentially
much
to
is
be like
happening.
for what we're told or what we think right now, we only have 4 episodes of now this.
Yeah.
I mean, things are going to have to move so quickly.
So
Yeah,
fast.
tensions have to go fast, like build fast.
Yeah.
Because after this, we have 3 more episodes,
Which we already
and then
do.
a
Yeah.
crazy
They say.
something else.
Everyone
for-
But I
knows
mean,
but one.
again, since like the concept of this show was 3 days in hell, they're only back for 3 days anyway. So
And one day's gone, right? Well,
well,
we
this
left
is
off
the
first
night.
night.
This is the night. Technically,
Yeah,
the
so the
first day
night.
is the next day.
Okay.
Because they're arriving 4 hours later, and it's not the blood moon yet. We see they say, look out the
It's
window.
coming,
yeah.
The blood moon is coming.
Right.
It's the 3 days of the whatever. Blah, blah. But basically they're saying you're gonna be in some bad situations. But before we even get to the bad situations, let's get caught up on where you guys are now.
Yeah.
Lee is upset that everybody thinks that she's a murderer, but she also, Sydney genuinely believes that she's a murderer. And we also see they're very much playing up how awful Sydney is. So his death, I know, is going to be horrific at some point.
Right.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
Definitely.
I hope it's worse than Cricket.
I hope it's way worse than Cricket, because Cricket we loved.
Yeah,
and-
he got it real dirty.
that
yeah,
was
because
rough. And then
Sydney,
and then the nurse getting
yeah, the
pulled
nurse-
apart.
the nurse getting
Those were
pulled
some
apart.
gnarly ones.
Yeah.
he says first, right off the bat, he thinks that Sydney is going to kill. What if Sydney kills,
Lee.
what if Lee
Yeah.
kills again?
Uh-huh.
So he already thinks that Lee is a killer and that she may kill somebody again. But he's more concerned with the legalities of Monet's alcoholism because they can't knowingly give her alcohol. So they're going to basically turn a blind eye and allow her to smuggle it in.
I think that actually
When-
is real though.
I think
That is
so,
real.
too, yeah.
That is.
Yeah.
And that, I think, was a very blatant point out. We even have Diane, the producer, say, so we would get in more trouble for giving Monet alcohol than we would if Lee killed someone. And they just nonchalantly, yes,
Yeah, pretty much.
that's the legality of it. Done.
And also,
he eggs on Agnes, hoping that the restraining order is going to bring her to the house.
And I think that was just for publicity. Because if she already pretty much almost attacked another cast member, because that got revealed to us afterwards. And it was like, so why was he going to have her there in the first place? But now we know he wants all the drama.
He's just trying to stir stuff up.
This
He's
is like
churning the butter.
Love and Hip Hop meets Paranormal
He's
Activity.
churning the butter like the colonial woman on the wing of the plane.
On the wing of the plane.
Always gonna bring it back.
We've said that a few episodes this season.
Yeah, there's too many callbacks. Too many. But then the ultimate accident occurs, and poor crew guy Greg gets murdered with a chainsaw.
He just shoves it into himself.
Right, so that's why
chainsaw.
gets murdered is the right word to say, because I would think any of us drew the conclusion that a ghost or whatever it might be pretty much held his own hands and chainsawed himself, right?
Because Greg clearly was screaming his head off, not too thrilled with the fact that he was chainsawing himself to death.
But
that we
of
see
course,
in the background.
we have the cast arriving in mere hours, so there's no time to mourn poor Greg. So Cheyenne Sydney is like, the show must go on.
Immediately, so Diane now becomes all of us from this point forward, saying, okay, well, I'm out.
I do like that they're bleeping out some F-bombs.
Yes.
It's adding a nice like real touch to it.
Yeah.
Because they'd be flying out of my mouth left and right.
Oh yeah, which the way that they've structured it, that works perfectly because it's supposed to be a show that would be airing, that they would have the bleep. So it's very well done in that respect. She quits, she leaves, she turns on her camera to say, I want to set the story straight.
Because she knows in the later viewing of the show that she'll be portrayed as some like crazy person.
As somebody nuts.
And so, of course, all their cars are rigged up with cameras because every aspect of this is supposed to be filmed. So she does like her own confessional.
So she does her own in-car confessional, and this is the way that the writers say, okay, everybody who is every audience member yelling at the screen saying, well, don't go in there, don't do this, this is what I would do, just get out of there. She gets out of there. It's not that easy. Yeah. She leaves.
And we had the light of day. We was
in the middle of the
you're
daytime.
never supposed to be attacked in a car in the daylight.
I have a question. How is it that she couldn't find a road, but the Uber driver did?
She did find a road.
She
was in like the woods still.
No, she was on that like dirt road, and that figure appeared, and she has a moment. She's like, in no way am I gonna get close to that. And so she tried to just do like a quick turnaround, like a little off-roading.
And Mr. Pig
got her.
I do like how
I'd rather look like a crazy bitch than die making this show.
I do like how the real ghosts look. Like they look a lot scarier than how the reenactment people. Yeah. You know, they just look like.
The only thing, if it's not a blood moon yet, how are they physically attacking? How is he able to kill her during the daytime if it's not a blood moon yet? They've already set up. Yeah, two people. Yeah. They've already set up their.
I still feel like there's some aspect of real people who live in the area who were involved. Like I think. They're still in.
But they pop up in the back seat, like
that's magic, or
I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
some sort of supernatural.
We still don't know where the hillbillies are.
We don't know. We find out the Polks, which is also good exposition. That we find out one line: the Polks. Nobody's seen the Polks in months. We find that because they say, well, maybe they did that with the fetal pigs, and they said no, they've been gone, which means they know something's going down. It's like the whole aspect. It's like if you're in the woods and all the animals are running away, run away.
With the animals. Yeah.
Something bad is coming. When the hillbillies are like, "We're out,"
you go.
Leave.
See, and that's where
when the scary hill people, the cannibalistic hill people, are too scared. Get out.
But the thing is, though, and it's like with bringing this up in the car, the thing that's now very confusing are the rules of what's real, what isn't. When can things be there? When can they not? Because now we have a whole other aspect of produced scares versus the real ones, and we don't even and now we like really don't understand the real ones.
But we know that Diana Cross's body is never found, that she's actually gone, that the police find this camera 3 months later. So I presume that's a real attack from the supernatural creatures.
So she has to be with the ghoul gang then.
She should be.
She should be. Yeah.
Have her body, her spirit trapped somewhere there because, and also that's part of their bodies are missing, that they become part of the whatever land. So I'm thinking she'll probably show up later on at some point. But it is weird that they set up these parameters and then broke those parameters. That the ghost shouldn't be able to kill yet. And we saw that earlier when Dennis O'Hare, says when he attacks the pig man and says Croatoan, and then later says Croatoan doesn't work. It's like, okay, well then
when are you safe?
Yeah.
What are the rules?
And maybe that's just the whole thing, is that they're like, well, the rules change and you're never safe.
That's pretty
Maybe
much
the butcher's
a
gonna
horror
get you. Maybe Kathy Bates' Agnes is gonna get you.
That's the new rules for horror movies. There is no rules.
Yeah. Well, we then later find out that we were very excited that Evan Peters showed up last episode to play the one character. We now find that his character has married Shelby's reenactress. Audrey. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just.
That was the
this
cheesiest
accent
moment.
is like the accent, and which I'm actually like intrigued by, because in no world would I think that Sarah Paulson can't do a better accent. So it must be intentional. But it's like it's very quote unquote British. Like it seems it's like not very authentic sounding. And then
it's very RP British, because she's supposed to be, a very dignified regal person versus Rory, who's this frat bro. Which that's supposed to be.
Of course, they got married, and he literally was just like, and she's so hot, and his vows. And
Which they do the blatant foil where they have her super eloquent vows, and as soon as she's saying all of her eloquent stuff, I was like, okay, so he's gonna curse and say something dumb, and then he's like, I'm gonna love the shit out of you, and you're like, there you go.
I would appreciate that as a wedding vow.
I love the shit out of you.
Yeah, I think I would.
I feel like I've always dreamed of the moment when my parents would be lining up.
I'd rather be like, I'm gonna buy you so much pizza. That's
I love pizza.
All that I would want.
That's a perfect Friday night.
That's the perfect
every
life.
night.
And then like somehow just pull
a slice out, and that's the ring as the topping.
Okay, we're not going that far, guys. Cartier, please.
One day.
I would. I'd be all about it.
Back to the topic at hand.
So, we see they sign up. They're all excited that they're going to be there together until Rory gets the call that he's going to be he's got an audition for a big time movie with Brad Pitt. He's going to bail. She's going to be gone 6 months apart. So.
Do you guys think the ghosts didn't want him to leave? Do you think they heard and be like, I'm going to see a callback with Brad Pitt? And they're like, no, you're not.
They wanted that letter.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. That's
but also, that too.
Yeah, I think that if I was the ghost, I would just be like, you can't leave us. You're far too attractive, Evan
Or
Peters.
just a person in front of him.
Can ghosts get down with them?
I have a thought. I'm sorry, this is going to be naughty. I am surprised that the nurses didn't try to do like a threesome, like come at him at night with his wife, and he thinks they're going to have a threesome and kill him. That would have been fun.
Well, we also know that the nurses are looking a little rough now.
I'm just saying. He would be like, kinky. They're
the
nursing
reenactment
costumes.
Nurses look a lot more attractive than we see the actual ghost nurses.
Fair.
Okay.
That's a good
being.
point.
So, I think that it's the for TV, how they sex it up, but then I'm doing a lot of air quotes tonight. I don't really know why.
Right.
Yeah, we're just air quoting it.
But yeah, so then later we see they all come together, and Shelby says, it's never too late to find love, which Audrey takes a little bit of offense
Right.
to.
See here,
She was like,
these are the things. These are the things. They're making so many blatant, like, just one-liners that are just causing so much tension between everyone, like things like that. And of course, she's gonna read into it, or like, I don't know. It is very, which I mean, it could be intentional. It is very real worldy when it's just like it's gonna just show this unnecessary stuff, and it's just like this isn't the American Horror Story stuff that we know. So so this was like a very big adjustment episode for me.
Yeah,
to like
it is very different.
To add in like a humor.
But I like it because
an attempt
it
at
is
humor.
It is very Scream Queens. I think.
Yeah, it is very Scream Queens.
It's going into the direction of what a lot of horror movies are going into, which is the millennial demographic. They're kind of like
which I like, though. I like
to an extent. I feel Zach. To an extent, extent, to an extent.
I do, but the thing that I like about it is that they have the differences in the drama is Shelby and Matt and their real world. This is a marriage that has fallen apart. She genuinely loves this man. They have been through, presumably, some real hell.
Yeah.
She wants their lives back together to the point that she's willing to put herself back in this situation versus the fabricated drama that the actors have where they're kind of, saying even we think that they're playing it up. The Americans are way too dramatic with theirs. She should have underplayed it a little bit. Where then we have Monet saying, I think that was actually real drama. And they just saying, well, there's no way there could be real emotions and things in this reality TV situation.
Well, because
it's reality TV,
right? And
it's
that's
not
kind of
real.
The thing that you're getting is like the actors are just kind of having this vibe, like, hey, I'm just here for 3 days for a paycheck. Like they're just hanging out and kind of scoffing and laughing at the mess of real humans in front of them.
When Shelby and Matt, when they find out that they're paired up, and Matt says he's going to go down to the basement, and Shelby kind of freaks out. Then Audrey's response is fiery and pathetic, exactly how I played her. And they're like, nailed it.
Eye roll.
Just totally
mean.
Yeah, just completely a complete disregard for these as actual people.
Right.
Seeing these physical people in front of them as the characters that they portrayed and how they referenced to them.
And then later Monet sits down at the table with Lee and just straight up is just like, how can you sit here okay with yourself after murdering your own husband? Just point blank.
Like, does not sugarcoat.
Why aren't they like grateful? Like, hey, thanks for being a person so I could play you and get all this money.
Right.
Yeah.
At least, I mean, I think with Audrey should be because that was mean for no reason. I guess she's just mad because she made the age thing.
I think they're just trying to play out.
Test it.
You saw her insecurities at her and in her confessional when she was talking about them being away for 6 months and trusting each other. So I think we're just playing into her insecurities.
She's just very sensitive.
But in the midst of this, when Matt very much overhears them all laughing, he was like, well, when were you guys here when you were filming? And they're like, wasn't it like the summer? Because at this point it's probably months and months later, or maybe who knows. And he takes him to the window and there's a 90% full red ass moon in the sky, and he's like, well, you just wait. And he
sips tea.
He's the dummy though, like, why are you coming back?
Right,
get out of here. But then we find out too, because we find out, we've been saying for that the original My Roanoke Nightmare docudrama that they had was, well, we know that they survive because this is the end of it, where now we know, because they give us a title card that tells us that everybody that signed on for this production dies except for one person. This never aired, and then this is the footage that we're bringing. So now they're even setting it up. Everybody in this house is going to die except for somebody. So now we have our central dramatic question.
Like the cast, quote unquote cast, or is it like the entire production crew?
We're assuming not the whole crew is going to die, but I think because they're hidden in the woods, I think they're definitely going to die. As soon as he said put the trailers in the woods, I was like, and they're dead.
Yeah, because they're not even going to know to look for them.
I feel like I'm being like a real dick about this episode tonight, but it just, there's too many other people involved across the country in Hollywood that they would be on top of these things. That if like people started dying, they would know. Or even how much of this is supposed to be filmed in real time, like people would know.
Maybe this is where.
Go ahead.
Oh no, go. You could go.
You sure?
Yeah, go for it.
This is where I go back to Halloween Resurrection, because in Halloween Resurrection, when they go into the house and they plant all this stuff, they think that it's pranks. Like they're thinking this stuff that's going on isn't real. And remember, the guy was setting up all these props. So people are like, okay, no, that's not real. Kind of like in Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's
sorry,
why
guys.
I'm really trying to hold myself back, because we have to assume this first episode that we're gonna see the way it unfolds, and it could be totally different than what I'm assuming. So.
Maybe also though too, they can't get to the house, like how Diane tried to leave and they killed her. Maybe like if you try and get to it.
And they took all their cell phones.
Kind of like Cabin in the Woods. It's like a whole like block thing. Which I also like that they do reference the cell phone thing, that they take all of their cell phones, but they've given them, instead of, they're like, we've given you cell phones, but we've deactivated them, so just the cameras.
Just have a camera.
How about just give them a camera? Like, do we really have to be like, it's 2016, we all have cameras on our phones. if you have to deactivate everything else, just give them cameras. Why is this?
That's true.
Yeah.
Why do we have the phone option? Is it going to be like you can call 911 unless it is some sort of tie-in back for it to be a phone instead of a camera? Mm-hmm. And that's just a look how hip we are reference. That's going to kind of.
I think that's probably it. Maybe.
Fine then. But they had kind of a few things that were tee-ups. Like we see Rory and Audrey go to the hot tub. Mm-hmm. Because we see them in the hot tub. Kelly, you even flat out said as soon as Audrey goes back in, he's dead.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
we see him, and I thought, surely he's going to die in this hot tub. But then Rory comes back inside because he hears the hoopla when Matt and Shelby have been talking downstairs. And they even reference kind of what we're saying, where there's Shelby saying, we're going to be safe this time. There's a huge production crew. Mm-hmm. She flat out says point blank, quote, nobody's going to let us get hurt, which is why she has come back. But again, we don't see why Matt comes back. And Matt even says, it will happen again. I don't know if we'll survive this time. Mm-hmm. So why are you there, buddy?
Yeah.
I mean, we have to assume to help Lee and help Lee clear her name. Like, what would you?
I guess, but I feel like everything that they went through after Lee left and was arrested, he still saw a lot more. Mm-hmm. Right. He should be saying, "Hey, sis, don't worry about what anybody else thinks. Mm-hmm. Who cares if they think that you are a murderer? At least you haven't been murdered. Mm-hmm. Don't go get murdered just to prove that you weren't the murderer."
Especially
money, though,
during the
man.
blood moon.
I think people just want more money.
I mean, she does. She said that she's a single mom and has her daughter support, which also
millions of dollars
the really subtle throwaway. So I guess we assume now the Flora storyline like actually is no more, which is bizarre to me because it seemed like that had a lot of focus in the first show.
It was a big thing. Well, that I think was the central dramatic question for the first half. I think that's kind of how he's broken it up, is how he said it's like a different thing. It's an overarching thing. Is he's given us two central dramatic questions of the show. One, is Flora going to survive? Are they going to get Flora back? That's been wrapped up. Now the second one is, who is going to be the sole survivor? Mm-hmm. So that's already been set up, like here are the direct questions. So then I think episode 10 is going to be a huge twist where it's like, really, neither of those questions mattered. Mm-hmm. Here's the bigger overarching question that you guys didn't even know was the question that we're answering. So, it's a lot to throw in now, but because the Flora storyline isn't as big a deal, it's kind of more the impetus for Lee's being sued by her mother-in-law for custody. Right. If she does this show, if she has more money, she has more pull to potentially get her child and to be able to keep her child. But it's still, I don't know. A lot of it seemed kind of forced.
I'm sorry, but I've never heard of that. A mother-in-law suing the mother of a child. I mean, just a little tangent. Courts pretty much only side with the parent, the father or the mother.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
like as
she's under suspicion for the murder.
But if she got cleared criminally, she can't do anything about that.
No, but also there's a history of a substance abuse too.
But still, you could be
she lost her first child.
Her first child is dead, and her second child disappeared, and then it's a whole lot under her situation because the public eye too. Hers is a strained situation.
I see.
There's plenty of movies where they get the kid away from the mom, or in real life things. But I'm just basing it on movies.
Right. History.
Yeah.
History of film and cinema.
White Oleander. Never mind.
History like White Oleander.
But then, I mean, we very quickly realize that they are in, I guess, real danger. Right?
Yes, because we have, we get the whole drama with Monet and Lee, and she says, "I'm a drunk because of you, murdering bitch," that whole thing. Then we get more drama because Dominic shows up and has his kerfuffle with Matt. Mm-hmm. Matt finally...
Which then simultaneously, this is now when I can't remember their names.
Shelby?
Real actress of Shelby. Audrey at this point has now retreated up to take a shower solo. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So amidst this fight, she's showering. So
she's taking a shower, which, again...
Never shower alone in a scary movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when do you normally, stay outside while I shower. Like, very rarely.
If you're like in the
it's a haunted house.
Yeah, if it's a haunted house, I would have a buddy system for real.
Yeah. Where Pigman shows up in the shower.
One of you is sitting on the other side of the curtain, and we are getting to know each other.
But remember, because they shot in the summer, they think that this is all like
they
whatever.
think she thinks
They're
it's
like
totally
all
fake.
nonchalant.
Well, even when she's in the shower, she sees Pigman shows up in the mirror. She turns around, she sees him. She runs down screaming, freaking out to Rory because she's saying, I was taking a shower. She's not upset because she thinks she's going to be murdered. She goes, Sydney, that ass, set somebody up to scare me who saw me get out of the shower. I'm standing, naked and vulnerable, and there's some hired actor to try to scare her. So Rory is saying, I am the only actor that will see that naked body. Dadgummit. I will go find you, pighead man. And so he runs up to start kicking some ass,
which
Matt style.
Truly, my favorite thing in this episode was actually watching him like having to pump himself up before he opened up closet doors, because that'd be real.
So
if I thought I was running after someone and was about to fling open some doors, I would have to take a moment each time to be like, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, let's
Protect your wives.
He's such a good actor too.
Yeah.
Because you could tell, like, he was even told to, like, punch your fist, do it. And he, like, does it, but in a way that makes sense. That doesn't make you be like, okay, dude, like, like, you felt like, okay, that's something a frat bro would do. Like, that's something, before his big going out nights, like, he and his bros would be like, let's pump up, let's go. Pighead man, crush him. But unfortunately,
we know that there are great members of society and fraternal communities.
No.
Hey, I'm a sorority girl. Yes, there are. Yes.
Yeah,
No.
We're actually saying props to him for broing out on Pighead Man to be like,
True.
look, I'm going to defend the honor of my wife.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Murday needs to become murder for the two sisters who find him looking for Pighead Man, and instead he
gets real
an abrupt end.
Yeah, I was so surprised.
He gets
What a tease, being like, oh, he's back with everybody else.
Great.
Yeah.
No, he is.
But we do assume now that is he not a ghost stuck to the land?
Yeah.
He
He definitely is.
Fingers crossed.
Yes, I hope he comes back.
The only thing is, we also haven't seen any of the elderly people that were killed by the nurses.
Well, that's because probably they were already like decrepit to begin with when they were alive. So now their ghost version's probably just chilling by the same tree,
hanging out, watching Golden Girls. Like, come on.
Yeah, they're the mob, the ghoul gang.
But it's interesting because we have a very interesting character turn, which I'm appreciating because I was so hard on Matt the first chunk because he clearly was just such a bumbling idiot. And now it seems like with everything that happened with Shelby, he has a little bit more of a clear mind and his wits about him. And so he's very much kind of seeming like the character of reason at this moment, who is keeping his eye open and sees the way the murder, now the finished word, rises above the wallpaper. And he walks in and delivers the news that R is for Rory.
Yep.
An end episode. And that was a good end. It was.
It was really good. And nice directorial debut, Angela Bassett.
Yeah.
Get it, girl.
That was very well directed. And, directing from within the scene. She did a very, very good job.
Ryan Murphy sharing the love.
Yeah, the first different episode, too.
Yeah.
Props to her.
Good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay, so guys, the only thing from the chat that I was noticing is that we have some people like hoping who's gonna be the last person standing, and a lot of people are saying Matt.
I say Shelby.
Well,
I think that's
let's hop into some predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
So if the big question is, who's going to remain? Why do you guys think each
Don't
character?
go to me first.
I think it's gonna be Lee that's gonna live.
You think Lee?
Because I think everybody thinks she's a killer, and so everybody else will die. They'll be like, she killed everybody, like it doesn't clear her name, at all. And I think it's
that actually would be a good twist.
Yeah, she's the only one who has something to lose from being the only one standing.
And I think it's too predictable to have Matt or Shelby to be alive still.
I think Shelby, because I think that the Scatham, what is he?
Scatchum.
Scatchum.
I think she's gonna try to embody her and
The
get her.
Sasquatch.
Yeah, the
Sex
lady
squatch.
thing. Lady Gaga's character is gonna try to become her so that she could walk the mortal earth, you know, and just do her thing, find her mate, and have her demon baby. And then Flora's gonna watch the demon baby.
You just want Flora to be a babysitter.
Flora's gonna somehow, I feel like, because even if everyone dies and one person survives, I think, and we go to another horror story anthology, she's going to be the one that ties back to this. And she could be like the one that, you know, she knows what happened when she was younger, and she could kind of like carry it on, I think, to some extent.
Well, I almost wonder if they threw in the line of the mother-in-law suing for custody just so that if Lee dies, that we're
That's
not
a good one,
upset
too.
about Flora being alone. Like, we know that there's somebody fighting for her to take care of her.
That's good.
Because we would be upset if now Mason and Lee are gone and we go, well, we just
Unless
invested
Matt
5
survives.
episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's now an orphan.
Matt as her uncle.
Yeah, but potentially. I don't know. I feel like Matt's going to go. I feel like Matt's going to get to the very, very end and we think that he's going to survive. And I think it's going to be some huge twist.
Maybe he'll sacrifice.
This was going back. I did have one question, which, I mean, again, we don't necessarily know the timeline of when. Do we know when the actual, like, this actual story is supposed to happen? Like, when the real Shelby, Matt, and Lee were in this house and all this happened? Is it not? Is it 2 years ago?
2015.
That was
Well, the
when it was
show
filmed.
show aired.
Show film. So then when did everything happen? Just the year before?
The year before.
Because my only, which was just like another plot hole, is like I'm trying to think of, like, there's something weird about the character of Shelby to me. Especially like with her ankle shattering. How is she just like totally gung-ho and has a yoga studio and everything already? I feel like that's kind of not that quick of a fix. Am I reading too much into this?
Maybe she could own the studio and not
it's been 2
necessarily
years.
practice it.
And I feel like you could still do yoga. You can still
Yeah.
do yoga even with injuries. Like, you just modify.
I guess, yeah. Also, we were watching reenactments. We don't know how badly
Yeah,
she was
and if it was
injured.
supposed to be, like, I feel like 2 years is enough time to
just because,
recover
like,
your
I'm
Yeah, I think
like
so.
there's something that's like seeming a little like I feel like we're getting more glimpse of like a menacing thing about her, and I'm wondering if there is already a connection to the Lady Gaga, whatever her name is, thing, and she somehow already is like a evil ghoul of some sort that's a little bit more mastermindy than we think.
Oh, that's like in the Howling. I
Maybe.
think the third Howling,
Like,
the second one where the
I
girl's
don't
like
know.
innocent,
kind of bringing them
and then she's the one that's like, yeah.
Because I mean, and playing the whole like victim in so many ways. I mean, she had a one night fling with the actor to try and draw
But
Matt
I also
in. Like, all
wonder,
these
like,
things.
how much is Matt doing too, though? Because we still don't know Matt's real intentions for being
Right.
there. We know that Shelby's going because of Matt.
Right,
But if Matt said I wasn't going, Shelby wouldn't go.
Yeah.
right. I think we might have a big twist of finding out who actually murdered Mason, and it might be something that we don't
Yeah.
get. or
I
would
think Shelby.
yet.
I think I'm with you though that Shelby isn't as innocent as
She plays.
she
yeah.
plays up to be.
I can see that.
So I don't know. I mean, it's hard to make an actual prediction at this point,
Yeah,
but
everything's up for grabs.
I'm digging.
What do
it,
you
though.
think?
You know, I feel like it's gonna be. I almost wonder if it's gonna be Agnes and it's the butcher and the butcher lives. That Agnes is the only one who is, you know, technically
So we
associated,
think
but
that it
she
just
lives, but she's
continues.
possessed, and that she then goes on to, basically, maybe potentially murder the Polk family and have that be part of the sacrifice, and then bring them into always being on the land, have some sort of thing where it's all tied back to basically a possession thing, or just her craziness leads into.
see, and I didn't like someone like I don't know where in something that I read, because I don't read spoilers. I don't want to read spoilers, but I think this is more just like a fan hopeful prediction kind of a thing. And how badass would it be if Jessica Lange shows up and is the real butcher
I think
and
somebody did it on the chat roll.
That would be
out tonight
amazing.
and murders Kathy Bates'
Yes.
version of
I
her.
would lose it. I would
Like,
be
that
so
would
all
be
about
great.
Show
that.
up.
Yeah.
I would be. Well, speaking a little bit of what's to come, let's talk a little bit of news and gossip.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
AfterBuzz TV News.
So we have just a little bit. Ryan Murphy did confirm, because we've had all of these different tie-ins to the previous seasons, and we've been saying, you know, okay, we've had a little bit of our Coven reference. What is what's the direct come-in tie-in? And he confirmed that Lady Gaga's persona is in fact the original Supreme, and that he plans to bring the character back to a future American Horror season that will, quote, return to Coven.
Yes! My favorite.
So we will have in future seasons, and he's also said that next season will not have any of the secrecy, any of the things that they've had for this season, how everything was super secretive under wraps. It will be announced, but it will have a big hook. So we're still not really sure what that means.
I would assume if they're going to do a solo finale episode that it has to be a tee-up for the next season.
Well, he says it's also going to involve several Freak Show characters, so if it's going to be a return to Coven and there's Freak Show characters and there's all these other things.
Salem, Massachusetts.
Ooh.
I mean, there's already a Salem show. You know.
Yeah.
So...
Wait, so the next season is gonna be that, or just?
Or
the
he's
future?
just says in the future.
The future seasons will have some sort of tie-in to Return to Coven. Next season will have several characters from Freak Show making appearances. But in true Ryan Murphy fashion, that really doesn't mean anything to us because none of his secrets make sense until after we see them.
Except the only thing that we would assume then that the next season, or at least primarily, or not all of it, is the modern day. Because we know Freak Show was 50s.
Yeah, 50s, 60s.
So.
The first one was kind of modern. Wasn't it modern day? A little bit
the
more
first
modern?
Season?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first season was completely modern day.
Yeah.
It's kind of switching off. Like, it'll go, like, back and forth. Like, Hotel was modern. Freak Show was a throwback. Coven was modern.
Or maybe they'll go international and not keep it in the U.S.
Well, it's American Horror Story, so I feel
know.
like...
Well, it could be Britain. I mean, you know, our cousins from across the pond.
I was with you for a second.
Start there. I'm just saying.
I feel like they would make it like International Horror Story. I don't think they would make it like American Horror Story.
Well, half of the first season could, the first part of the season could be in England or something.
Asylum was throwback year 2, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. So it's just
throwback.
Asylum and Freak Show kind of were the only
time periods.
But we had, you know, a bunch of flashbacks for Hotel and for Murder House and everything, but the actual thing was set modern day.
Gotcha.
So, I mean,
has me thinking.
We've switched time periods, we've switched locations a lot, but part of me is really, I think it's,
we haven't switched dimensions.
I do kind of want them to bring in aliens and get it right this
because
time.
we did like a UFO thing, and I still haven't figured that out with the crop circles.
I went back and I watched some of Asylum again, and I was like, the whole alien storyline is still, I don't get.
Yeah.
It's so hard to do, though. I feel like aliens could be either really good or really bad. There's not any like, that was all right.
I think the way they did it was like very like X-Files-y, and I liked it. I'm just still trying to figure it out and how it ties into the other episodes.
Just like how I'm trying to figure out this season, which we're not talking about anymore.
Sorry, I got excited.
We moved on to news and gossip. We're talking about news and gossip of the show.
Right.
Why was this season so secretive, though? Because it's 6? Because of the name, the number?
I
think
don't
it was
know.
mostly just kind of a marketing ploy to be like, hey,
build up.
But also this is a season that they're really trying to do all these tie-ins from other seasons and all these references. So I think probably to make it.
I almost wonder if he didn't know he was going to get another season or not.
No, I think that they know they were going to get this season.
Because they already don't they already have season 7 too?
They're prepping for season 7 now.
Right.
So, and I assume they're already ready with episode 7, which will be next week. But in the meantime, where can we find more from you guys?
Hey guys, hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at Zach Kelch. Have a good night.
Hey loves, hit me up on Instagram at Michelle_Madison TV.
Hey, I'm Kelly McInerney. Find me on Twitter and Instagram at HollyWeirdo.
And I'm Alana Jordan. You can find me on Twitter at Alana Jordan and on Instagram at That Alana Jordan Girl. You can find all of us at AfterBuzz TV. Be sure to use that hashtag AfterBuzz TV. Tweet at us and subscribe on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube. Comment. We love hearing from you guys. And tune in next week. We'll be back. Hopefully you'll be too. Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.